And I bet that, thanks, Nick. I bet that, can you guys, I just want to, can you, okay. I bet that it's been longer than 2015, but I did bring it, I've been doing it because as a lot of stuff I learned from Kurt Witcher in Fort Wayne, and Kurt Witcher did a report for the Allen County Public Library, for the Allen County Genealogical Society. So that's the germination of this. And honestly, I think that I think it's interesting because I think everybody knows what we do day to day. You know, you walk in, we help you out, you call us, we help you out. And that's what we do, we help you out. But what does that really mean? What is helping you out turn out to be in statistics, and what have we done this year? And then what are some of our plans for the upcoming year? So that's what we're going to talk about. So just in case, as an overview of the buildings, we can see that the main library has 23,000 square feet. That houses the research collection. The Clayton House has 7,500 square feet. The CLF office and city directories. The guest house, 22,000 office space. The carriage house, about 2,100 square feet. And yes, since the pandemic, the historic site still remains closed. There are dehumidifiers in the carriage house, and then also in the guest house, although the guest house has tenants in there. But the carriage house has mold and dehumidifiers, and so that's why we aren't opening up the carriage house. And then the house isn't open because we still do not have a volunteer coordinator at the Houston Public Library. And so we are waiting for that to happen to bring back our in-house volunteers. But Clayton Library Friends, as resourceful as they are and as helpful as everyone is, has come up with some volunteer projects that we can get involved in off property. So we're very grateful for that. So just as an example, I mean, the amount of square footage comes out to about 42,000 square feet that we do have on property. So without the team, it's not about me. You know, I understand, and Nick, you know, very nicely mentioned that we are one of the, you know, top 10 genealogical research libraries in the country. I was very fortunate to be handed a collection that was very, very, very well organized and very, very deep and very, very rich. So I stand on the shoulders of my previous managers, and I also stand on the shoulders of the team, because the library would not be what it is, and I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for the team. And you know, as I mentioned, our team, we provide this high level of customer service through the genealogical reference to individuals that walk in the building. We offer information and education, whether you come in, on the phone, via mail, in our international research collection. And we know that the collection is so deep, and many of you, because we've gone through this before, know that I love to use the example of the Alaska cemetery, where a customer came in and couldn't find her ancestor and found a cemetery book in Alaska. He had gone up for the gold rush, and there he was. So as deep as our collection is internationally, I like to say that, and it continues to grow, of course, with the help of the Clayton Library Friends and the funding. And then, of course, our staff. Our staff, my team, we just would not be able to do what we do without any of them. Our team, we have some members, and I'll show you them in a second. We have Mr. Klein Carroll, who is with Family Search, doing our digitization. You can see Mitch Clendenning. He comes to us with 25 years of video production in the television field, major skill. Stephen's been around for 22, 23 years. Everybody knows Stephen, has German skills. And then also, of course, is our volunteer coordinator and very knowledgeable. And then on the second row, we have Diane Carroll from Family Search. And then there's me, and there's Melissa Hayes, who is from Maryland, has Kentucky. She's our assistant manager, our collection development manager. And then moving down, we have Joy Oria, who is responsible for our programming and developing our programming with help of all of us, but she puts it together and gives us what we do for Clayton Library Presents. Amazing, big legacy project that I wanted to do in terms of our programming. She's been very successful. And our newest member over there on the other side below Miss Melissa is Amy Burr. Amy Burr is our part-time person, and she comes to us, believe it or not, with a master's degree in genetics. And so coming from an academic side of the DNA, but then also understands it. So it's great to talk to her about it. And then also she's been doing some research on some Cherokee Indians. And then there's Irene over there on the left. Irene and Becky, who you see on the right, have been there the longest. Becky just celebrated her 25th anniversary. Irene is on her 25th year. Irene is our cataloger. Irene is responsible for all our editing and putting out the newsletters. Becky is also doing cataloging and responsible for our gift books. And so you're looking at Irene and Becky, the cataloging team. Melissa is the collection development team. You have Joy and Mitch and Stephen who do programming. Amy does also collection development, maintenance, and then the carols also. And not pictured is Rodney Sam, who was ill that day. And Rodney Sam has deep Louisiana research of free people of color. Becky also is our Louisiana expert. So it's been an amazing ride since 2006. And I am just very, very, very grateful for everybody that we have. And then here is a picture, a closer picture of the carols. The carols just joined us about 3 weeks ago. I think they are our, I don't know, Stephen has a list of all our volunteer missionary couples. They might be our 15th set, 13, 14, 15th set. The project, the Family Search Digital Library Project, which is digitizing material from our collection and uploading to Family Search, has been in place since 2008. And so what's happening now in the grand scheme of Family Search, all the missionaries, each couples, walk the collection. They have been through the collection over and over again from 2008, but it is important to go through the collection each year because each year, another year is removed from copyright rules and comes into public domain. And so currently they're going through, we've created a list from a search from our catalog of the books that are 1927 and before. And then also there's some other copyright permissions, if you will, that can get us to do some digitization up into 1964, sometimes into 1977. So we've been pulling lists from our cataloging, from the catalog and handing them to the carols. And so they now are learning our cataloging scheme, our shelving scheme, as many of you have as shelvers. And just, it's super wonderful to be able to welcome them to our team and to be part of us. We feel very blessed. They came from a small town in Utah, as many of them do, shocked about the traffic, but managing, and live in the, what we call the closet, as many of you know, right there on the first floor by the reference table. So if you are in the library and the door is open, please stop in. They'd be more than happy to show you the project. And of course, it's just nice to get to know them and let them know you. So they are really, really, really wonderful. We're very blessed. So as I mentioned, the Family Search Digital Library, if you're not familiar with that, we have about, from our collection, almost 15,000 books available on the Family Search Library. You go to familysearch.org, you click on books, and there is that initial screen that you just saw from the carols, but then there also is an advanced search screen. If you are interested in what we have from our collection, you can search Houston Public Library in quotes. It'll pull up those books and you can see the variants of the books, Messages of General Andrew Jackson with a short sketch of his life. You might not be related to Jackson, but again, you might want to look at it as a social history and read it just to see what was going on at the time period, maybe of your ancestors. Family histories, cemeteries, military information, copyright within public domain, non-copyrighted material. So you'll see that. The Family Search Digital Library has almost 600,000 books. We are just one of probably 20 partners, including Fort Wayne, Mid-Continent, which is in Independence, Missouri, Arizona State Library, Florida, Ontario, Canada. So you'll never know what you're going to find, and every book is OCR'd. You can search by family name. Again, one of the things I say is, let's hope your name is not town that you're searching, but it's worth a look because almost 600,000 books and continuing to grow through the efforts of our digital partners and the carols. So let's look at the statistics. This is kind of my fun thing because not only do I love statistics, but it gets to be creative with colors. And so we're going to go through some comparative statistics. We're going to look at some of the changes and their impact on how we serve people, some of the things that we've done, some of the reinventing that we've done since we had to reinvent when the pandemic hit, and now we've begun to reinvent after we open. We are continuing some things and we're developing some new things. So, you know, it's all a big fluid thing because, of course, not every day is the same for any of us. And the past 3 or 4 years sure can throw us a thing. Anything, you never know what we're going to get. So let's talk about visitors first. We have an Office of Business Development, Statistics and Business Development, I believe is the department. Oh, Statistics and Business Intelligence Division, I'm sorry, of the library that gathers a lot of statistics. And we have this dashboard, which is another thing that we all learned about as we move into some really cool things. So these are our visitors for the past year, FY22. Now remember, we're talking about FY22, which was July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022, just ended. So you can see month by month, you can see that what numbers there were. September is a down number. October, of course, because it's Family History Month and we have done traditionally more programming, although we did those on Zoom. But then again, you know, the highlighting and just the idea of coming into the library in October. You'll see our numbers were bigger in a little while, but our November goes down. Traditionally, everybody starts to get busy, and then we start to get busy for whatever reason. You can think of all kinds of. The cool thing about statistics is when you look at them, you get to come up with all kinds of different ideas of why the numbers are like this. And sometimes not anything is wrong. So after the holidays, people maybe have gotten stories in the family, and then they come and then they get interested and then they find us. And then of course in March, I don't know, spring break, maybe, who knows, April, May, June, and then July, June up there at 1700. So what I did do comparatively was compare library visitors from FY19, which was the last full year that we were open, to library visitors of FY22, which was the first full year that we were open. We were closed from March of 2022. I'm sorry, we closed in March of 20. March of 20. We opened in May of 21. So FY19 was the last full year to compare to 22. And obviously you can see the numbers. You can see the decline of 42%. You probably have a bunch of ideas in your head now of why it is, okay? You can say that people even thought more stuff was on the internet. And, then of course people wanted to stay home. People got used to staying home. So whatever ideas you might have, really sort of in my world as the manager, make me think of, okay, how can we begin to bring these numbers back up? So that's my challenge. I look at these numbers and we think, okay, what is it that we can do? We talked about developing, we talked about continuing, we talked about reinventing. So what is it that I can do to incrementally bring those numbers up? As an interesting statistic, you can see here, this is part of from our division. This happens to be 5 fiscal year statistics. And you'll see I brought a bunch of these through the rest of the presentation. You can see in it's FY18, the maroon, for some reason in September, it went down, school started, people were busy. Again, you can see October going up. Now, remember also prior to the pandemic in October, we had extended hours. A long time ago, we used to stay open until midnight, and then we sort of started to scale it back. But traditionally, our numbers usually, and you can see them, in the fall, coming up in December, going down. Of course, the flat line is the pandemic. And then you can see where we're at this past year. Again, challenging to try and get back up to 3,000 a month. Now, remember also, when we look at visitors and we're talking about this number a month, okay, the gate counts when you walk out the door, the gate counts. It doesn't know if Nick walked out 5 times, okay? It doesn't know if we're walking in and out 5 times. So it's not necessarily a true visitor number. It's a general, as a lot of statistics are. Well, I mean, numbers are numbers, but this is not a true number. Of course, because when you're collecting numbers, a lot of things can impact the collection of those numbers. So that's an example of what is impacting these visitor numbers. If we look at interactions, these are questions. The difference in a reference question and a directional question. A directional question is, can you help me get on the computer? A directional question can turn into a reference question. Where do I go when I want to know about my ancestor? Okay, a reference question tends to be when we develop that dialogue and start suggesting materials, as opposed to, we're going to get you on the computer, go here, go here, go here. Microfilm is upstairs, family histories are upstairs. Those are directional. The bathroom is over there. That's a directional one. So you can see, again, the maroon is pretty deep. We're up at 16,000, and that's fiscal 18. You can look at, and I know across the top, for some reason, it goes 2020 and then 2022 and 2021, but the colors are what we're after. So you can look at, of course, the 2021 piece of pie is very small. And then you're looking at the directional for this past year, 7,500, reference 9,900. And so if we look, I think a rational goal, at least for FY23 in my mind, is to at least bring it up to 2020 numbers, if not 2019 numbers. 2019 is a stretch goal. Probably 2020 numbers in the blue, the reference, the directional. Directional is about the same. I'd like to bring the reference numbers back up. So again, I'm looking at these, trying to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do for the next year to keep myself busy 40 hours a week. But anyway, so we have our programming numbers. This again is a comparison between 21 and 22 is accurate because both program were virtual years. Okay, so programming is one of our most significant accomplishments, I think. The reach that we have had with virtual programming, I think when we talk about face-to-face, how successful that was. And face-to-face was our initial foray into virtual programming through the Clayton Library Friends. They found the need, as the Clayton Library Friends do so well. We came with a need, they saw a need, and Nick and his team put together face-to-face, and it's been super successful, and it helped us launch our virtual programming also. You can see the different numbers in FY 2022, 84 offerings to 4,000 people, FY 21, 34 offerings to 1,000 people. When we talk about programs, we also talk about, statistics and the way they're collected. The terminology, especially at the library, has changed throughout the years. Okay. And you'll see in this next slide, when we talk about groups visiting the library, you can see the legend, which is meetings, outreach, and programs. At one point, an outreach was when we went and talked about the library. Okay, when the library was talked about more than 20 minutes in the presentation. Anything else, going out and talking about funeral records, would be a program. And then throughout the years, they have melded, they have been taken apart. And so this is why you see, especially in 2022, well, number one, you don't see any meetings in the blue because of course our meeting rooms just opened, but you'll see 52 for outreach and 37 programs. That's a lot of outreach because now what has happened is anytime we speak to a group that is outside of the library, it is not a program that we are putting on, that we are doing. That's when it's an outreach. So Melissa, Irene, and I, and whoever else went out and talked to groups 52 times in FY22 for 1,400 people. We had 37 programs, basically Clayton Library Presents, that had 33,000 people. So that's how we're working statistics now. Historically, it was a little different, but the numbers are out of I mean, completely in the grand scheme of programming. We have basically blown a lot of people out of the water when it comes to the numbers in terms of our programming. And that's something that we're very proud of, and something that is very time consuming and very cumbersome to do. But the Clayton Library Friends have funded some of the programs. We had Maureen Taylor, we had Thomas McEntee, we've had different archives, the Illinois State Archives. We just had the Texas Archive of the Moving Image. We've had DNA programs. So, you know, African American History Month programs. And we'll talk about some of our upcoming programs at the end, but that's one of our hallmark type of things that we do. So our circulation, it says circulation, but we do in-house use is what we do. And this is why every single book that you look at, even if you open it up and you just look at the index, and even if you're on the floor and it's right there to put it back on the shelf, you have to put it on the cart. Because these numbers, we count every single book, and this is indicative of how many books people are using in the library that give us our usage statistics. And you'll see, I'm going to compare them to our visitors. You'll see it's almost the same line, but we need these statistics. These are our circulation numbers, and they help me look at, again, what it is we're using. And then also we can run a report. Well, we get a report actually, I think it's every single month, of books that are used, and we can manipulate those to see what areas are being used, what areas aren't being used, and begin to evaluate and use these statistics and these reports for collection development. Computer users are logged on. This has been a sort of, sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't statistic. Of course, we're looking at 2020 when we were closed, but I don't know why we only have one from 2018. So, but again, if you go back to our visitors and you look at our computer users, we're getting about 10% of our people that walk in the door using computers. Now you can go look at that, okay? Even though we're talking about how everybody believes, or a lot of people believe, that there's stuff out on the internet, and most of the stuff is out on the internet, the computer use we would think would be higher, but people are bringing in their own devices also. Okay, so what's happened is although you see in FY19, or I mean FY20, you see high numbers, you can look at, of course, decreased visitors, but then also people bringing in their devices. That's some of the reasons I can think for those numbers. These are a couple of just the comparative things that I wanted to show you. We're looking at the visitors on the top. We're looking at the circulation. As I mentioned, it's super apparent that they are, you know, one on top of another, which of course makes sense, right? Now, nobody in the building, nobody's using books, right? So, and then here's visitors. And then of course you can see our reference questions and our directional questions. Remember though, reference questions also come on the phone. So, you know, it's kind of a different number when you're comparing the two. We are taking statistics. We do report statistics each month now. We have an automated way of keeping statistics where we report whether we're on the desk or whether we're on the phone. So I can get those breakdown statistics also. That's something that we do. I think we just started maybe last year, but we can get those statistics, those automated statistics. So that's the numbers in a nutshell. Okay. All right. So let's talk about just some of the things that we've done. Of course, I can't talk about I'm just so excited and proud because I come from a huge, long line of programming. A lot of you know that I do programming for the Texas State Genealogy Society. I've done it all along with all my other genealogy societies and things that I've done. It's kind of like, because I love throwing parties, and that's what kind of programming is. And I spend so much time doing administration now. I really miss kind of throwing the party. Some of you also heard me say that it can be taxing. It's like doing a wedding each month, but getting everything, but it is really worth it because that's what we're all about, and the friends too. So of course, our Fogle West Funeral Home digitization, another partnership with Family Search that we've done. We have the Bowers that are coming from College Station in their car, periodically, I'd say the project started in September of last year. And so they take about 10 or 12 banker boxes of the Fogle West funeral home records and digitize them. Those are the funeral home records, the archival collection that we have that's upstairs on the second floor, all the way in the back. And they aren't uploaded yet to Family Search, but they will be. There are some ledgers that are uploaded to Family Search that cover the 1950s, maybe some early records, but it's not any information, it's just names. This is the digitization of the actual funeral records. And so I will let everybody know when those are up. That's a wonderful thing we were trying to do. And then the vertical file digitization, again, on the other side of the room, and I'm going to show you some pictures of what we're doing and how to get to this with a vertical file. It is through our Houston Public Library digital project. We have created YouTube content, and then we have a social media presence via HPL, because one of the things that we want to do, we know that the Clayton Library Friends help us promote the library. I mean, we know that you're all talking about us, and we really appreciate it. We're very excited that we've gotten more presence through the Houston Public Library. So, and that's what we're going to try and increase in FY23. So, as I mentioned, the vertical file, this is what they look like if you've never opened up those drawers. That's what it looks like. And so the vertical file digitization project is a project that Joy started. And it is a select, as a librarian, I think it is, well, as a researcher, I think people hate the word select. As librarians, we know what select means. We're picking some stuff and we're going to digitize it, and you have to come in and see the rest of it. That's what it means, okay? So these are the vertical files. So since it's available on the Houston Public Library digital library, I'm going to show you how to get there so you can look and see what select materials we have. Now, this is still a project in process. I think Joy is in the F's right now, and there must be, I think, 25, 27 cabinets, 5-drawer, 4-drawer cabinets. And so she's going through it, and Mitch and Stephen are also helping her with the metadata. So this is Digital Houston. I know it's small. I have some bigger pictures. This is digitalhoustonlibrary.org. I made it small because when you go to digitalhoustonlibrary.org, this is the homepage. What you're going to want to do is you can see that, of course, we're in the center. We call these tiles or cards. You will click on our tile, all right? But part of in this part of this is, especially this part of the presentation, is to understand that we are one of 3 special collections. And as researchers, those other 2 special collections might have information that we're interested in, either just because for our own interest and really not our research interest, but just because, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. So there are things that are at the African American Library at the Gregory School. There are things at the Houston Metropolitan Research Center. There are digital images from these. There's a huge funeral program collection from Gregory. So begin to look at all these other things, and you can see featured collections below. But for right now, we're going to look at the tile in the center. We're going to click on that. And what that does is it comes to our specific page. We have these 4 tiles on the bottom. Each tile takes you to a specific place at this point. The Texas death certificates. We have death certificates that Family Search digitized early pre-1903 that are available there online. Our Clayton Library digital books are our Family Search books, and I'll show you those. Of course, there's the link to the vertical file and then the Clayton family images. Currently, we're talking about the vertical file collection, so you're going to click on that tile. What it does is then it opens up directly to the vertical file collection. Okay, this is the page that lands. We're at digitalhoustonlibrary.org, and we're drilling down. And at the bottom of this page, because remember, it's important to scroll and read about what you're looking at. Okay, always. So this is just miscellaneous papers. We saw pictures of it. But if you notice down as you read through the text, now I also want to mention that this is not just about Texas, okay, because these are pieces. Think about the boxes of stuff that you have and how much geographic area it covers. Okay, so we just don't collect these. We collected them until 2008, and then we stopped because it's just a hidden collection, which is why we're digitizing them. So anyway, so from this homepage, you can click on browse and browse the collection, but then also there is a link to a PDF file of the list of all the major surnames. And I'll show you that in a second, but we're going to click the browse button now. And then what that does is it takes you, you can see across the top, browsing items, the Clayton vertical file collection. We've specifically gone to the vertical file collection. There is a way to search from the Digital Archives homepage. At the very beginning of the Digital Archives homepage, you can see that up at the top on the right-hand side, there is a box. You can put in a name. It will return everything, as everything does when you just put in a name in the full collection. It will return matches in all the collections, but then with, like shopping, we can filter it out over there on the left under collections. Clicking that browse button from the vertical file page goes directly to this. I just went to browse and this is what came up. Okay, this is just the first page. There's 737 records currently, but also if you look over on the left-hand side, you can see identifier. And identifier are links to surnames, to documents related to those surnames. So you can go through those identifiers and see that there's a surname. Not all surnames are searchable. Okay, so what happens is when you click on a link, after you go into the vertical file collection and you click on a document, again, you're going to want to scroll down and look at the object description. I clicked on the second one, the biographical essay of James Joseph Drew, compiled by his grandson, Reverend Monsignor Anton J. Frank. All right, so this is a description, but this is the Drew family because that is the major surname. But you can see all these other surnames, you can see the places. And then, of course, you will see the actual image when you go to it. It happens to be, I don't know if it's a typewritten image or a handwritten image, but there's 2 pages. So that's how you can get into our vertical file. And that's one of the projects that we're working on. And I mentioned that link to the PDF file. This is the PDF file for the main family names that are available. All right. So it is a project in process. So if you're wondering if you look at this list or if you're just wondering if your family's there, there's some very, very, very cool stuff. I should have posted a picture. There is a document of somebody in the 40s, I think in the Second World War, that crossed the equator, and it's a very stylized document of mermaids and octopuses and sea serpents, and it says, hear ye to all you sea serpents and water coral reef and all this other stuff, that this person, Mr. Martinez, crossed the equator. It's gorgeous. It's an original document. And so there are some beautiful, beautiful handwritten letters and original documents in there. So I invite you to come down, even if your family's not in there, just to come down and see it, because other libraries have collections like this. Okay. All right. Our YouTube page. So I mentioned that we've got some YouTube content, and what's interesting about YouTube, I just listened, some of you might have heard that streaming content has now for the first time outlinked or outrun cable. So more people are streaming than have cable, or cable's reduced, whatever it is, we have streaming content. Okay. So on the YouTube channel, you're going to go to Houston Public Library. This is the Houston Public Library YouTube homepage. You will go to, let me go back, you'll see playlists across the top there underneath the Houston Public Library. You're going to click on playlists. And then over on the right-hand side, you see HPL History Research Centers. That's the 3 of us. And when you click on that, you will find that we have 51 videos from all 3 of us. And again, it's an opportunity to learn about our sister units and to learn about some of the collections that they have or something. Now look at that, preserving your own digital archives, right? Oh, that sounds interesting. You might work in that, huh? Let's read that. So point is that especially when you talk about HMRC and Gregory, they are the archival side of special collections. So they're going to have those type of preservation videos in addition to the source videos that were well known. that we do, the educational videos. I say the reason that we do so much programming is because genealogy in of itself lends itself to education super easily. You can pick a topic and throw together a presentation on a topic, and so it's just education is part of the pursuit of family history. So there's a lot of stuff from us too. And then, of course, in addition to the Clayton Library Friends Facebook page, the Houston Public Library I mentioned really has taken on a more active role in promoting us. Within the Houston Public Library Facebook page, of course, we would like a Special Collections Research Center's separate Facebook page, but there is a social media manager now. We submit 2 posts a month. And then we also have 1 informational post. You might have seen when we had, I think around Mother's Day, we had some surname books. We had, just kind of stuff that we have at the library. But then we do get a lot of play for our programming. And then again, HMRC does an archives watch party where they pull some stuff out of their collection to see. So, all right, let's talk about what we're going to do. All right. What are we going to do? The big challenge I think that we all can see from our visitors is getting that foot traffic back in the door. Okay. A lot of you have been in, we haven't been very busy. Saturdays are busy, not as busy as they used to be, but Saturdays can be a little busy. We're getting a lot of new people. I think you'll see the sign. We saw the sign at the beginning of our presentation. It's right there out on the street. When you drive by, you can see the sign. So I think that a lot of people are seeing the sign. Some activities I have planned will work better too to get people in. But so what are we going to do? We're going to do some marketing and some internal programming. We need to, we've been very successful bringing people in that external programming. So we need to figure out what is it? I mean, we know what it is that's unique. We need to post that. We need to project that. A lot of people, remember when we used to have programming in the library, we'd get 10 or 12 people. I understand that the numbers are not what they are virtually, but taking that internal programming to a next step and uploading it to YouTube, uploading 45-minute presentations, uploading little snippets of presentations, how to use the online catalog, how to use our microfilm, what our book resources. So creating that curated content, if you will, that's on demand, I think then, and marketing that curated content will also highlight. We have some other partnerships. We, of course, continue to work with the Friends, and then every other local society, and then, of course, every member of the Friends and everybody that walks in the door. Everybody is a partner that can talk about us, and we appreciate that. We've done some programming with the Holocaust Museum. The librarian at the Holocaust Museum used to be at HPL. I did a beginning genealogy when they had the Ruth Bader Ginsburg exhibit there, and I did a presentation on her using beginning genealogy. And one of the exciting things, Jessica and I are talking about working through the K through 12, some development, some programming, and some tools for that type of group, or that group, to begin that intergenerational, because we know it's about the stories. And that's where we're going to start. And that's one of the most important things, are the stories. So as I mentioned, some of the more promotional things that we're going to play off of from the HPL side is, of course, this is our library homepage. We know that we can click on research to get to our genealogy links. But if I'm a big proponent of scrolling down, if you scroll down, we actually have a presence on the library homepage. It is on the bottom of the page, okay? But we're not above the fold. But if you do scroll down, you can link to our research centers. I'm going to talk about the research center page and our research center newsletters, but I'm also going to talk about the HPL Insider newsletter, because that's the broader reach. There are some people get confused with the Clayton Library Friends newsletter and then our newsletter. So the Clayton Library Friends newsletter is the newsletter that you get that's sent out as a member. We have 2 newsletters that we produce, the Clayton Town Crier and then the Clayton Extra. And I'm going to show you how to subscribe to them. The Clayton Extra is a list of all our programming coming up for the next month or 2. The Clayton Crier is content from our team about collections that we have in the library and about researching. So we're going to go to learn more about our research centers first, and that takes you to what we call the Special Collections Research Centers page. This, if you haven't gone to the Idison building, this is the ceiling of the Idison building outside the old reading room, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and you should go to the Idison building and look up. So when you scroll down, after seeing information about all three of us, the African American Library at the Gregory School, us, and then the Houston Metropolitan Research Center, you can see get involved. There's events at our research center, which will take you directly to our events, learn about the exhibits, and then we have virtual tours. We're working on a virtual tour for us. Gregory has a virtual tour. Connected is where you're going to be able to click on to get our newsletters. I also want to mention HPL has a lot of other newsletters. If you're interested in business books, if you're interested in fiction type of things, you can sign up for all these newsletters to find out what kind of new books are coming in. Because although I know that we're very focused on family history, that we're very focused on genealogy, but we do have a very, very, very respected library collection. So there are some things that you can get electronically that might help you. And then of course our book collection. And then there's plenty of other databases. So I invite you to go ahead and look beyond genealogy and look beyond special collections to see what else is going on. There's some fantastic author talks coming up. So there's some really good things. So getting into the HPL Insider, it comes in as an email. You'll see it. And there's what it looks like. But what, along with all the other events that are happening at the library, I put this together. They do talk about what's going on in special collections. And you can see that at the Gregory School, there is an exhibit, 4th Ward, Mother Ward photographs. You can see our virtual events. And then also, we missed it, but coming up, we're doing Inside the Walls. The HMRC did the Astrodome, but I think that was probably recorded and is probably on our YouTube page. We in special collections we're trying to do some common programming, again, facing back into the library. So we created these Inside the Walls presentations where all three of us are doing 4 presentations this entire year. So going to the events page, we'll show you those presentations. And then, of course, our Clayton Town Crier. So I mentioned that when you click on the special collections, you do have the opportunity to get 3 newsletters. And then you'll get when you click on our newsletters, you'll get the 2 of them. You can get the other 2. And then you'll see that what they consist of, interesting facts. HMRC's is interesting facts about Houston history. And then, of course, the African American Library at the Gregory School, of course, highlights African American experience and the history and culture of African Americans in Houston and the regions and during the diaspora. This is what our newsletter looks like. And as an example, some of the articles in the most recent one is using the Guion Miller rolls in your Cherokee research. I mentioned our part-time person, Amy, she did this presentation, and Ronnie did slave narratives collected by the WPA. So these are the kind of articles that you will find. Irene is our editor. She does a fantastic job. And so we love to have those. The Town Crier is quarterly. The Extra is monthly. Also, when I talked about our events, right, and finding out what's going on with us and then all 3 of us, when you go to our library homepage and you click on events, when you search, you can limit down to history and research. That's what you're going to want to limit it down to, pull up all 3 units events. And you can see that we have one coming up on Friday with Diana Smith, who's out in Florida, and she's doing community research. We have seats left. Hint, 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 Friday, 2 o'clock. HMRC, look at Aquatic Book Rescue. You haven't missed that one. That's on September 8th. Some of the other things we have, I mentioned our internal programming, and then some of our partnerships that I'll talk about in a second. We're doing the next internal programming is about our book collection. That's in Family History Month. And then we are partnering, trying to get out into the system. We're going down to Central on October 8th to do a beginning genealogy class. So we've got that opportunity. We're looking forward to that. So partnerships, of course, we have the Clayton Library Friends. Clayton Library Friends are the major contributor for our material funds. As an example, this past year, the Friends operate in calendar year, we operate in fiscal year, of course, but we're looking at $30,000 again in calendar 2022. The city, we really don't know what the budget is from the city. Traditionally, it's been about $6,000. We have done some process changing where we just submit titles to the city. I am not the fund manager. We are not the fund manager, but I do know that it is a very small percentage compared to what, thank goodness, the Friends do support us with. Staff development funds coming. We've attended online conferences and some other things. So we've been able to continue to generate funds, generate education with funds from the Friends. The binding of books, that's another thing that's been back and forth during the pandemic and currently, but $10,000 a year for binding of books. So paperbacks don't just fall apart on the shelves. We can hard bind them. And then of course, face-to-face. Face-to-face was the beginning of our virtual programming, and it was just, and has been and continued, and Nick will talk about it towards the end, just been a boon and a major way of us to get together. And if you missed the 1950 census release party, you missed a lot. That was a lot of fun. And then, of course, the new thing from the Clayton Library Friends are research services and helping us support those emails that come in and those phone calls that come in. And maybe Nick will mention that too. Also, I have a slide just to let you know. And so Family Search, of course, if you engage Family Search and you look for, find restricted images, we are a library affiliate. When you engage a restricted image at the Family Search website, there's a pop-up that comes up. We are a library affiliate. We are not a family history research center, a family history center. We are not a family history center. We are a library affiliate. So if a pop-up says library affiliate, come on down. And then of course, our family history digital library, which we continue to enjoy that partnership. Clayton Library Friends, I mentioned the research request. It is a fee-based research, time-based research request. I'm super excited about that. Been a big help. Project that Mary Barrow and others, Barbara Richards, all started together, and other people are involved to help you do some of your research. And then events. I showed you our events. I showed the events here at the Clayton Library Friends. They are the Clayton Library Friends put our events on the Friends page, so you can register for our events on either page, Clayton Library of Friends events like you did today on the web page. Just to mention a couple other, I mentioned our partnerships, our local organizations, the Central Library. One of the things I'd like to develop a partnership with is the Museum Park Neighborhood Association. I am just convinced that we need to have a party on the lawn, on the front of the house. So I'm going to start going to their meetings and at the very least, make the neighborhood aware of us to utilize us. And so there's plenty of people. We got plenty of dogs that come and visit. We got families that walk through the neighborhood. It's just prime. I think we ought to get some doggy DNA kits and get rid and give them away at a party. And our programming, some of our programming, what we're going to do is we're bringing back quarterly orientations. Yay! Thursday night and on a Saturday, we're going to collect our collection. I mentioned highlighting programming in-house, our programming with our sister units, our programming system-wide, and then of course getting the word out with help from you, which we are very, very, very grateful for. So just as a quick overview, just a few reasons for you to come inside the walls. Okay, a few reasons. So of course, our recognized, nationally recognized research collection organized by state, and then within it, county. How simple is that, right? So our international research collection, our cool new technology that was provided by the Friends. We have 2 consultation tables where we take customers or bring a friend, bring a couple friends, and spend some time looking at the big screen. Okay, where you're all bring a family member that you're introducing to. All right. So we have these consultation tables. These are super cool. These are great. People are really excited when we use them. And then of course, our unique content of our vertical file. And then of course, our personal digitization services. You can come in, how many what do we call those? Carousels of slides do you have in your garage? Well, I have them in my garage. I hear everyone cringing, but yes. So there, you can do that. We've got flatbed. We have a sheet feed scanner. So we want to help you preserve your family memories, your family documents. All you got to do is call us. You can set up an appointment. They're not busy. I think we're going to move them downstairs on the first floor where there's more room. So that'll be exciting to do that. And here we have our upcoming programming. As I mentioned, It Takes a Village community research is coming Friday. If you have ever wondered about Percy, the periodical source index, if you're not using genealogy magazines, you're losing about 25% of available knowledge. So Percy is the major index to genealogy magazines, and we are getting it straight from one of the Allen County Public Library staff members. So there, where Percy is generated. So I would sign up for that. And then we have Tracing Mexico, Ancestors Through Revolutionary Mexico on September 16th. So we continue on our varied programming. And excitedly, it's Family History Month in October. Our theme, we came up with a theme, is Families on the Move. So you can see our programming, Researching Midwestern River People, Paula Stewart Warren. We're going to do the book collection. We have the Underground Railroad with Debbie Abbott. Railroad Records and Railroad History, Methods for Tracking. That's going to be Paula Warren again. And then we have our Family History Month Showcase. I am not going to tell you too much about the Family History Month Showcase. Some of you remember it is we used to run the programs over in the carriage house, the presentations. So that's what it is. But we have some of the stuff up on our Houston Public Library website on the events page. And I did not look to see if Fidel has put them on the Clayton Library Friends events page, but they will be there soon. So you can see what that's all about. And that is Friday, October 21st. So there's a little teaser for October. So my job for since 2006 has been one of the best jobs I could have ever had. Although administration, and I see the administration tasks that I wrote there, which include getting people to write the procedures down because we never had a procedure manual. One of the big, last year we had Angela Kent, who is my direct supervisor. She is the senior manager of special collections. We did not have a procedure manual. I am not really a document person. So we're putting together all kinds of administration documents for, as Nick mentioned at the very beginning, succession planning. Not that I'm leaving, but we have a responsibility, I think, and many of you have gone through this already, to go ahead and leave why we do things, how we do things. So then the people that come behind us can say, oh, this is a great idea, or what were they thinking? And so anyway, so that's really what I'm doing. My job is to continue to promote, continue to develop, and maintain us as part of the library system, not just off to the side as special collections. It's going to be a big task. The big thing is getting people back in the building. That is the huge focus for FY23. And so any help that you can give us, I know that we've got buses coming back again, visitors coming back again. So that's great too. Again, if you need us to come out and do a presentation, we're still doing them online. We're coming out. So any group that just even hears, oh, I'm kind of interested in family history, we're more than happy to come out and do that. So we really appreciate with your help and everything that you guys have done for us and continue to do for us. So, in person, on the phone, we're available for presentations. We do it all. And I'd like to thank all of you, the members, the visitors, and the friends and the board for your support and everything that you have done to support me, to support the library, to support the team, and to continue to make us who we are. I'm really very, very grateful. And as we like to say, your ancestors are waiting. So come on down, you guys. And there's our phone number, our hours, email if you'd like to email us, and then our website. Thursdays are our late night till 7 o'clock. So Nick, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for
Thank
everything.
you, Sue. It's really exciting to see how you faced the challenges and persevered and overcome. You know, it's just been tremendous. And in respect to Rosemary Mullen, who was the first person to enter a question into the chat log, I am going to begin with her.
Okay.
Her question was, what is being done about carriage house mold mitigation?
They are replacing the air conditioning units, is my understanding. I don't know when that's happening. We just had a meeting with Spaces, which is our planning and facilities department on the Houston Public Library side. They are in contact with the General Services Department, which is of course the facilities management department of the city. And they're really, the most recent update is there is no news yet. I do know that there is machinery that needs to be replaced.
Okay, so Mary Hollis has a comment here. She says, no one would have wished the pandemic, of course, but we all have to admit a lot of good things came out of it, such as the virtual programming. Wonderful.
Right.
So I think we're all excited about the virtual programming, and you know, it has been a wonderful product of you know, the lemonade that you made out of the lemons.
It was, you know, I'll tell you, you know, again, you know, when the friends stepped in, I can remember Nick, you know, going back and having that meeting, you know, in the library when we were planning, you know, and that was, you know, really, it was always a dream of mine. But when the friends stepped in and said, okay, we can do this, you know, and then I saw that, it really sort of gave me a little strength to say, okay, we can do this, you know. And then we had Mitch, you know, we had, you know, a lot of people that came on, Jessica, you know, that came on to help us. And so it really has for all of us. It's a little overwhelming now. There's so much, you know, that's another thing now. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's wonderful, without a doubt. And I'll just repeat, remember, put your books on the cart, not on the shelf.
Thank you.
And Pat Metcalf says, annual State of the Library presentation started in August 2012, although in February 2011, Sue presented Clayton Library's newest collections and their appropriate use. So thank you,
Pat.
for the history, Pat.
It's funny, you know, they call me the senior manager, you know, of all of us, you know, and sometimes when I'm in meetings, I feel like the old, you know, like the Yoda who knows it all. That's Pat Metcalf, you know, who we can always look to for historical information. Thanks, Pat.
Mm-hmm. So, and of course, I love that you love to plan parties. So I said party on Sue.
Thanks.
And Rosemary has a suggestion. Rosemary Mullins, I believe that was. Let me just check here. Yes, Rosemary Mullen, scout badges to get people interested.
Yes.
And I think I was kind of having a similar thought about youth programming, or you know, high school or college. You know, if there were programming that we could roll out to the youth and educational groups and so forth.
Yeah, the Texas State Genealogy Society, and Pat Metcalf, you know, is responsible for this too, has a writing, you know, competition, I think. And so there's a lot of stuff that we can sort of morph in. Jessica and I have talked about the badges and other things like that too. So we really are looking forward to it. I don't know if any of you have ever been, we've done some intergenerational programming where we bring out the dial telephone. And we've been there, and kids say, it took so long to call somebody, you know, to go back from the night. Yeah, so there's some really cool things I think that we can do with the kids. Yeah.
I mean, I hearken back to 1989 when I got seriously interested. And it was all due to the fact that my daughter brought home a genealogy project from school, you know, just a simple family tree. But that sort of opened the door for me. And so I think the kids can really interest the parents, and, that multi-generational thing that you talk about is
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, my husband's daughter, Doug, Sarah is coming in October specifically because, they got divorced when she was maybe about 6. And she's 27 now, specifically coming for that family history to learn about herself. So yeah, that intergenerational thing, eventually comes around. But yeah, but the kids are just so cute. It's really cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now that we're back in, we need to maybe put our thinking caps on some activities that would draw people in,
Yep.
sort of festivals or.
We have that area, the kids' books, and I think some of back by the map section, we have underneath the stairs. We don't get that many kids in there, but we're thinking about creating an area back there somehow, although it's kind of remote too. So, but we do need to address that somehow.
Yeah, it's kind of like the genealogy story hour that a lot of libraries do.
We have done that when I was at Youngman, when I first came to the system back in 2005, and I was at Youngman, and I did not have a children's librarian. Aside from going through every single animal for children's story time I could think of, we did, I made a little tree with little leaves, and we had exercises, where the mother and the kid put them on there. Yeah.
So, okay. Mary Hollis says, please discuss the Family History Digital Library and library affiliate and elaborate what that means again.
Okay, so the Family History Digital Library. The Family History Digital Library is a partnership of where Family Search came to us, and we have a memorandum of understanding, excuse me, where missionaries are sent to go through our collection and digitize material that's in public domain. Public domain means no copyright. There are various ways to ascertain copyright, which can get into the weeds, but that's what the Family Search Digital Library is. We are one of probably 20 partners that have major research collections of consequence. And as I mentioned, Fort Wayne, Mid-Continent, and Independence, Missouri. If you go to the page, the homepage, you'll see who all the partners are. You can find out who all the partners are. So that's what's happening. Okay, that's the Family History Library, Digital Library. Again, any type of material that we use for the pursuit, any books that we're looking in that are in public domain and they're at the libraries that we're at, have a good chance of being digitized and completely OCR'd, so you're going to be able to be searchable. Once you do your initial search, you'll get your results. You click on books, and then you can search with inside that book. Okay, that's the digital library. The library affiliate is if you're looking on Family Search and you come up some microfilm records. Okay, you come up with digital images, not books. Okay, the digital images when you do the search from records and it comes up, or when you come from the catalog and they're restricted, and a bubble comes up and says you need to be at a library affiliate or a family history center to view these materials. We are a library affiliate, which means you can come into the library and look at these images. Now, the books, you have to search the books separately. When you do what I call that magic box search from the homepage, where you put in the name and it does all the results, okay? The books are not returned. The books are not, it's not what we, you have to go either into the books.
Describe it as silos of information.
Exactly, that's right.
And the books are in a different silo than the records are.
Exactly. Now, the books exist in the same silo as the catalog, okay? Because if there is a digital image of the book, you'll find that link in the catalog because you'll find the record. So to get to the books, you either go to the books or you go to the catalog, but you are correct. You have to separate, you have to go into those silos to search those. Mary, I hope that answers and might not have gone too deep. Thank you for asking.
So the next thing in the chat was Jessica Collins says that she loves the pet DNA idea. So we could get, a whole program on pet genealogy here.
Well, you know what? Yes, pet genealogy, because of course the pets have the pedigree, but I'm thinking like out and we can do this, Jess, we can plan this together. I think because there's so many dog walkers in the neighborhood, if we had something out on the property and we gave away doggy DNA tests, that would get people to come, and that way we could talk about the library.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll be there to help you plan a party.
Okay, yeah, I'm really, yeah, once I get involved with the Museum Neighborhood Association, I think that that's just a great idea. Yes.
Okay, so the next one is from initial C Fitch.
Kathy Fitch.
And she says, I can no longer find the death records index for the funeral home records. Is there a new URL?
Well, there's not a new URL, but what you're going to do is you're going to go to our library homepage. Hang on, let me escape out of this. So
yeah, I think you have to share your.
I have to share.
Have to go out and
Wait a minute,
share.
stop, wait a minute, hang on, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
hang on, let me go back, okay, all right. And you wanted to go online too, Nick. I can do that too, but okay, all right. So here we are. So when you go to research and then you go to genealogy, you can find here are what was it that
the
Can't
death
we-
records index for the funeral home records.
right here?
Fogel
Under
West
Houston,
funeral
Texas.
home records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
those are the images. These are the images and index.
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
Okay, so they're right there, right on. So this is.
Oh no, wait a minute. This is the link to Family Search, I bet. Yeah, that's the link to Family Search.
But that does get you into the pages of the funeral record book.
Yeah, that's not, those are just the ledgers. Those are just the
Okay.
ledgers. That's a good question, Kathy. Vertical file, microprint, getting started. I'll find, let's see.
Yeah, maybe we could take this one offline and.
Yeah, I will put, yes, I'll look for it. I'll look for it,
Okay.
Kathy. I'll get back to you and I'll just send something to the friends. Okay, I'll take care of that.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, what's the next question?
Deborah Hall says, how does Clayton's digitization resources compare to the HMRC Memory Lab?
Well, the memory lab, the digital resources, the memory lab that's at HMRC was a grant that they got for technology to save, people were going to be able to come in and do, from video to disc or whatever, and photos and things like that. So that was what the memory lab was at HMRC. Our digitization project, our vertical file digitization project is something that we're doing in-house that is uploaded to the
No, I think she means the where you showed the slide deck being digitized and the scanners and that sort of thing.
so those are just for customer use. I mean, we're not using those for the vertical file. We're using a flatbed for the vertical file digitization, but
Yeah, well, she just was wanting a comparison between the kind of resources that you had available versus the memory lab. You have a
I would think some of the
Yeah.
technology is the same, like downstairs where we have the sheet feeder and the flatbed. That's some of the same things that they have out like at the tech links at the neighborhood libraries. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure what's at the memory lab at HMRC.
Deborah, do you want to provide clarification? Did that answer your question?
I went to a presentation on through the, I think it was there at Clayton a few years ago on someone talked about how to manage your files and
Mhm.
reduce, stuff, and it covered digitization as part of the process, right? Part of the solution to your overwhelming photographs and documents and so forth. And I would like to see that presentation again offered to a group. And I wanted to know what the difference was between what you could get from HMRC and what you could get at Clayton in terms of training, process, help on the
Help is
project.
about what you'll get. Help is about what you'll get. Um, No training that we do. I mean, the training would come with help. I mean, Stephen,
Yeah.
when someone wants to come in and do the slides, Stephen will go over how to use the machinery, and you're saving it to a flash drive. And I'm not even sure if the memory lab was ever stood up, if they ever got the equipment down at HMRC. We can look at the presentation and try and bring that presentation back. I would go look at the YouTube page to see if there's anything there. They might have recorded it or done it again and recorded it. But I can look at some of our past programming and see what you're talking about and try and bring it back. Sure.
Great. Okay, so you got a couple kudos in here from Randy Pace.
Thanks,
and Mary
guys.
Hollis. And Susan Hoover says Brownie Girl Scouts grades 2 to 3 have the My Family Story activity badge. Risa Hennings says, thanks, Sue, great presentation. Susan
Thanks,
Hoover
guys.
also mentioned the Boy Scouts genealogy with a genealogy merit badge with a link. And let's see, this is Robin Swats. Will presentations continue virtually? I know some places have gone back to live or hybrid.
I will say the presentations will continue virtually. We will always do virtual presentations. The format of them might change, depending on what's happening, and depending on how much programming we do to try and get people back in the building, but we will continue to offer that type of programming. Yes.
Okay, and the next one is Pat Metcalf. TXSGS has a student writing competition with money prizes. Deadline on September 15th. We need students to enter. And
Jessica's, and just so that you know that it's doable, Jessica's son was an award winner.
So Agnieszka Davis says to everyone, I'm a registered Boy Scout genealogy merit badge counselor. Would love to find out more about family library help. So,
Yeah.
Agnieszka, that would be great. I think, coming in and having that dialogue with Sue and
Yes, I've been doing genealogy for, I don't know, about 20 years. So I've been thinking about running that merit badge for 4 troops that I know of. But obviously, I'll leave it to the professionals. If you guys,
No.
have a program already in place and presentation, then I could definitely advertise it. I can definitely try to get some participation, and we can probably work on scheduling it. I've been thinking about doing that for a while. It's just that having a Clayton library, having a central place to bring all those kids would probably be a genius.
Jessica, would you like to
where
say
do we
anything?
stand on the use of the meeting room, Sue?
You can book the meeting room online.
Okay, so they could do their genealogy merit badge class in the meeting room in the main library.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was going to say that while everyone else was talking, me and Agnieszka were messaging back and forth. So definitely, I have Agnieszka's name. She gave me your phone number. We would love to loop you into helping us because we're in the very beginning stages of talking and brainstorming. So anyone else who has some kind of involvement in these other groups, especially I'm more familiar with Boy Scouts. If there's someone, I think Susan Hoover had given us some information about Girl Scouts. I'm looking for people who know those programs a little bit better. Also American Heritage Girls. If you have any kind of volunteer role with those groups, we could help. We could use your help on our committee too.
Yeah, because I'd like to take, I think, ultimately, in addition to you know, the groups and reaching out to the known groups. I'd like to produce something that we could put on the website. You know, so all that documentation that these groups have, or anybody in curriculum development, you know, that type of thing, or has experience with K-12 genealogy. Now, Ancestry has some components, the Library of Congress has some components, so we can put some handouts together too. But that's a committee thing. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we have quite a few more things here to get through. Let's see, where was I? Randy says, do you have a process to ask visitors how they heard of the Clayton Library?
Do that's something that we haven't implemented. I have iPads that I can put out for registration. Remember when people would used to sign in the notebook, the spiral notebook? So yeah, that's another thing, Randy, thanks. Yeah, that's something we worked on and it's dropped, so yeah.
And Rosemary Mullen says, hope to have in person when the carriage house is ready.
We're having in person, but we're having in person in the meeting room. I mean, we are doing in-person programming. We had, Irene did, our first one was kind of like an orientation to the library, was I think last month. We had 17 people in the meeting room.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so we have some in person. So look online, you'll be able to see, it'll say, you know, if it doesn't say virtual meeting, then those are the ones that are in person.
And Susan Hoover also offered up to Jessica and yourself regarding a friend who is a GSA troop leader with a second grader. I will also say that my daughter is a Girl Scout troop leader.
Okay.
And she has a 6th grader and a 5th grader. So that's where she's gearing her activities. So
maybe some links to like the San Jacinto Girl Scout, you know, the council, you know, and see those type of things too.
Okay, so I think we've gotten through the chat log.
Thank you.
So you definitely generated some discussion here, Ms. Kaufman.
Thank you.
Everybody, of course, is well, we're all library boosters, so
You guys, I know, and I appreciate, you know, all the very nice things that are in the chat. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate just the support that I feel from everybody, you know, and what you do for us. I mean, my goodness, we're so fortunate. You know, when I talk when I talk about us to my sister units, you know, and you know, it's still, you know, $7.6 million since I've been there. So thank you.
okay, so as for what's ahead, Sue's already mentioned the library programming. Genealogy Face-to-Face is still alive and kicking, and our next program is coming up on the Thursday, September 1st, and it's a special Labor Day entitled Our Ancestors and Their World of Work. And so this is a participatory thing where we need your stories. And our first vice president at ClaytonLibraryFriends.org, please see here in this paragraph that talks about it. She is looking for a brief description of your ancestor and their work and any images, if you have images available. And the deadline is fast approaching, folks. It's within the week. So get your descriptions and your images to Jessica ASAP. And for those of you who do not know, we did reduce the schedule for face-to-face to a monthly program. I sent out a reminder to everyone who is registered through Zoom. So you should have a list of the upcoming dates, and you can use that link in that email to get on to all of those sessions. You only have to register once, and then you can be a participant in genealogy face-to-face. Anything else that I'm missing or anything we need to say for the good of the order? Hearing nothing. I want to thank you all for coming. I especially want to thank my programming committee, our president, Linda, our vice president, Jessica, Glenda, Gay, Carol, Mazzella. You all have been fabulous in making these genealogy face-to-face events happen. And of course, the Clayton staff for their participation in face-to-face and for our quarterly meetings. And thank you so much, Sue, for your overview of the library and where we are, the state of affairs. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next quarterly meeting in November. Of course, we'll see you in the interim at all of the programming offered by the library and at Genealogy Face-to-Face. So thank you all for coming.